Right now, as you are hearing the very first words of this video, you might be sitting in a familiar room surrounded by everyday sounds, with the feeling that everything is still going on the way it always has. The earth is still turning. The sky is still above you. People still wake up, go to work, love, get angry, and feel exhausted. But there is a cold truth that very few people are willing to face. There is not a single moment in your life that is not being watched. There is not a single second that truly passes in complete freedom. And there is no action, no matter how small, that exists outside an order that was established before you were born. This world does not run on randomness. It is not held together by luck, and it certainly does not exist because human beings are in control. Behind every heartbeat you have right now, every breath you draw in, every raindrop that falls to the ground, there is an unseen system operating with a precision that is almost terrifying. A system that has never drifted, never fallen asleep, and never forgotten a single living being anywhere in this universe. Human beings often live with the illusion that we are the center, that history revolves around us, that our lives are the greatest thing that has ever happened. But if you could see this world from far enough away, you would realize something that makes your chest feel heavy. We are tiny points moving inside a vast order we cannot control. That order existed before human beings could speak, and it will continue long after the last footprint of humanity disappears from this earth. Within that order, there is no room for chaos, no margin for error, no negotiation, and everything has a place. Every life has a limit, every death has a moment, and every ending has already been set, whether people realize it or not. There are beings who have never grown tired, never hesitated, never resisted a command. They do not live by emotion. They are not driven by desire. They do not act for personal gain. They were created from light, entrusted with responsibilities far beyond human imagination, and positioned in roles where, if even one of those roles were left empty for the briefest instant, this entire universe would collapse at once. You may not see them. You may have never thought about them. But that does not make their presence any less real. In fact, it is precisely because we cannot see them that people so easily forget they are living inside a system under absolute supervision, in a system where life is not an automatic right, but a gift that is extended moment by moment. There are hands holding back the end of time. There are hands sustaining life second by second, minute by minute. There are hands recording every action you take. And there is another hand waiting for the exact moment to close it all. Not with emotional rage, not with chaos, but with the perfect precision of a divine command. This is not a story meant for entertainment. This is a reminder that you are living in a world where nothing is meaningless. Every breath you have is because it is still being permitted. Every morning you wake up is because the moment of your ending has not been called. And every second you delay thinking about the meaning of your life is a second slipping away in silence, never to return. Welcome to Prophetic History Explained. If you feel a faint unease in your chest or a curiosity you cannot quite name, that is intentional. Because the stories we tell are not meant to lull you to sleep, they are meant to wake you up. To wake you to the reality that behind the life that feels so normal, there is an order far greater, far deeper, and far stricter than most people ever imagine. In this video, we are going to step into the core of that order, into the domain where the four greatest angels have been entrusted with missions upon which history, life, death, and the final end all depend. What you are about to hear will not be easy to forget. And once you reach the end, you may not be able to look at this world with the same eyes again. If you want to keep exploring the hidden truths woven through the history of the prophets and the angels and the divine structure of creation, subscribe to Prophetic History Explained right now. Your support is what pushes us to keep bringing you stories that are deep, honest, and difficult to shake off long after the video ends. Human beings often think time flows naturally, like water no one can hold back. We measure it with clocks, divide it into day and night, and assume it moves forward by an unseen rule with no owner. But within the order of creation, time is not a free-flowing river. It is being held back, anchored in place. And the existence of this world second by second depends on the fact that the final moment has not yet been permitted to happen. From the very beginning of creation, there has been a being standing in perfect readiness. Not moving, not changing, not aging, not growing tired, not feeling impatience or curiosity. Only a cold, unwavering focus on a command that will arrive at a moment no one can predict. When that moment is called, history will not fade out slowly. It will end instantly, without warning, without giving people time to fix what they have broken, without giving anyone one more chance to delay a final plea. What unsettles people is not destruction, but certainty. The end of the world is not a theory. It is not a story meant to scare you. It is not a distant possibility. It is an event already prepared, needing only a single command to become reality. And while people argue, deny, or mock the idea of the end, that waiting continues, silent and without emotion. But if only the ending were being prepared, this world could not have lasted as long as it has. Alongside the final moment being held back, another mission is being carried out without pause. The sustaining of life. Not through random miracles, but through a system so precise that human beings never see the whole of it. Water does not fall from the sky by accident. Rain does not arrive by luck. Life is not sustained by unconditional favoritism. Everything is distributed according to a strict order where every drop carries its own responsibility. There are beings entrusted with the survival of the world, from the greatest matters like harvest and seasons down to something as small as a single raindrop falling onto a remote field no one has ever heard of. People drink water, eat food, breathe air, and call it normal. Very few ever stop to ask why life is sustained with such stability in a universe so vast and volatile. Very few realize that a tiny shift in this order could make existence impossible. And that long stability is exactly what makes people forget they are living by mercy, not by entitlement. There are times when mercy is taken lightly. There are eras when people break the balance, strip the land, poison the water, and live as if the world was created only to serve endless greed. In those moments, the order of life does not respond with instant anger. It responds with waiting. Waiting for people to recognize that what they are losing is not something they can easily recover. Between those two extremes, the held-back ending on one side and the sustained life on the other, the world continues to exist. Life is not eternal, but it has not been taken away. Time is not infinite, but it has not been sealed shut. Humanity is living in a pause, in a fragile in-between space, suspended between existence and collapse. The frightening part is not that the world will end. The frightening part is that people live as if it never will. Each day that passes, time is held back a little longer, life is sustained a little longer, and the chance to recognize the value of that gift is missed one more time. Life continues not because it is untouchable, but because the final moment is still being held back. And when a person understands that, they realize that every day they are still alive is not normal. It is a quiet reminder that time is still being allowed to move forward. The only problem is that no one knows how long that permission will last. Humanity has never discovered ultimate truth on its own. Every rational effort, every philosophy, every system built by human hands reaches only the surface of reality and stops at a boundary it cannot cross. Because between the Creator and human beings there is a distance no mortal mind can bridge. That distance is only filled when revelation is sent down. And within the order of creation, revelation never arrives randomly. Every time truth is delivered to humanity, history shifts direction, not with thunder from the sky or loud displays of power, but through changes that are deep, spreading, and impossible to reverse. There are moments when a single message is enough to make one person stand up against an entire empire. There are times when one command ends centuries of misguidance, even if the cost is resistance, suffering, and sacrifice that stretches across generations. Between Allah and the prophets, there is always a messenger, a being who does not only carry a message but carries divine authority to protect, to guide, and when necessary to intervene directly in the course of human history. That angel's presence is never coincidence. Each time he appears, the world no longer runs on its old momentum. A new order begins to form, whether people recognize it at the time or not. Revelation is not just words falling from emptiness. It must be understood, explained, and lived. That is why the angel entrusted with revelation does not stop at delivery. He stands beside the prophets in their most uncertain moments, when the weight of truth becomes too heavy for a human body and a human heart. He teaches them how to stand firm, when to speak, when to stay silent, and how to remain patient when they are denied, insulted, and persecuted. Yet human history is not written only by ideas and words, but by events that shake entire societies. In those moments, intervention from the unseen does not always come gently. There are nations that turned completely away from truth, turning mercy into arrogance and freedom into cruelty. And at that point, the angel carrying divine power is given the role of ending a rotting order, clearing the path for another chapter of history to begin. Storms, earthquakes, collapses that appear natural in the record of history are not always only physical phenomena. Behind many of them is a command being executed at the precise time, toward the precise people, and to the precise degree. Not earlier, not later, not beyond the limits that were set. Even in the most sacred moments, even when a human being is raised beyond the familiar space of the physical world, the guiding angel still holds a distinct role. He opens the way, but he does not cross on your behalf. He brings you to the boundary, but he does not step over it for you. Not because he lacks power, but because some limits are not for angels, just as they are not for human beings. Ultimate authority belongs to no created being, no matter how honored. For humanity, revelation is the only light that cuts through the darkness of ignorance. Without revelation, people wander through fragile assumptions. And without the messenger of revelation, that light would never reach the human heart. That is why every message sent down is not merely information. It is a call, a responsibility, and a test for those who hear it. And some people receive revelation with humility and their lives transform. Some communities reject it because they fear losing power, routine, and comfort. But whether accepted or denied, revelation fulfills its purpose. It exposes truth so people can choose where they stand within the divine order. When people look back at history, they often praise leaders, warriors, figures who changed the world. But behind every major turning point, there is an unseen current guiding events. A messenger from the heavens standing between two realms, connecting what is beyond human understanding with the limited reality of human life. Humanity only knows Allah through revelation. And revelation comes only through the angel entrusted with that mission. Not to erase human responsibility, but to place human beings where they truly belong, in the creation that is guided, tested, and given the chance to choose its path. Of all the fears human beings carry, none is as quiet and persistent as the fear of death. People can get used to pain, accept loss, even face war and destruction, but when they think about their own final moment, most turn away. Avoid it or cover it with empty comfort words. Death becomes taboo, something you should not mention, as if refusing to name it makes it less real. But within the order of creation, death is not an intruder. It is a planned part of reality, as precise and complete as any law of the universe. The angel entrusted with ending life does not carry the face of cruelty. He does not come in anger. He does not act on emotion. He never goes beyond the command given to him. Death as carried out through him is not a random strike, and it is a process prepared long before it arrives. Every soul that enters this world already carries the moment it will leave. No one arrives early. No one is held beyond their term. What frightens people is not the nature of death, but the loss of control. Humans are used to holding, arranging, predicting. But in front of death, all power becomes meaningless. No wealth, reputation, or intellect can purchase one extra second. That is why people paint the angel of death as cold and terrifying, as a way to blame what they cannot resist. The reality is different. The taking of the soul does not happen in chaos. It has order. It has stages. It has preparation for the soul to separate from the body it carried for an entire lifetime. The body is left behind not because it was worthless, but because its assignment has been completed, and the soul does not leave to vanish. It leaves to enter another mode of existence, where the physical world no longer holds it. Encounters between this angel and the prophets reveal an important truth. Death is not an automatic punishment. For those who lived out their purpose, it can be released from exhaustion, sickness, and limits. For souls who endured long suffering, death can be the doorway to rest. Even for the young, when the term is complete, leaving is not theft. It is the timely completion of a journey already set. People often ask why death arrives at moments they feel they were not ready. But in the divine order, readiness is not measured by human emotion. The measure is not desire, it is completion. When the assignment is finished, when what was given has reached its limit, staying longer no longer serves a purpose. Yet even the angel of death is not outside this law. He is not independent. When every soul has been taken, when not one living being remains on earth, he too will face the command that ends him. That moment reveals something profound. No created being exists independently of the will of the Creator, no matter how great their power. Death is not reserved for humans, it is a law that covers all creation. When you see it that way, death loses much of the terror people attach to it. It is not a chaotic collapse of life. It is a guarded transition. What makes that moment heavy is not death itself, but the way a person lived before it arrived. A hollow life turns death into a nightmare. A meaningful life turns death into a natural closing. The angel of death is not tasked with spreading fear. He is tasked with ensuring that no one is kept too long in a temporary world. His presence is a reminder that this life is not the destination. It is a stage. And like every stage, it has a clear beginning and a clear end. When people understand that death does not come to destroy, but to complete, the way they look at life changes. A day is no longer something to waste without thought. It becomes a portion of time entrusted to you. And fear gradually gives way to a deeper question. Did I live the time I was given in a way worthy of the order I belong to? Once you see the larger picture of this unseen order, you cannot keep asking the old questions. The issue is no longer how powerful the angels are, or how the universe is run. The real question, the one you cannot escape, is where you stand inside that order, and how you live in a system where every action, every breath is never meaningless. Most people live as if they exist inside an empty space where no one sees them. We grow used to the idea that only what is visible to others carries moral weight. We become careful when watched and careless when alone. We assume some thoughts are unknown, some choices leave no trace, some small actions will pass without accountability. But the divine order does not run on that logic. There is no absolute privacy. There is no forgotten moment. There is no choice too small to be recorded. People often ask why the world is full of injustice, why some people live their entire lives without being punished, and why goodness does not always win immediately. But that question comes from a deep misunderstanding. It assumes this world is the final courtroom, and in the order of creation, this world is not the final destination. It is a test. Justice is not absent, it is delayed. What looks unresolved is simply waiting for the right moment to be placed where it belongs. When you understand that events are not abandoned but postponed by divine will, the way you see life begins to change. Success is no longer proof of absolute favor. Failure is no longer proof of being rejected. Everything is temporary conditions inside a process far longer than a human lifetime. And inside that temporary space, people are given a choice: to live awake or to drift. Knowing you are being watched is not meant to plant fear. It is meant to awaken responsibility. Responsibility for every word you speak. Responsibility for every decision you make when no one is watching. Responsibility for how you treat the vulnerable, how you treat the earth, how you treat the gifts you receive daily and rarely think about. The supervision of the divine order is not about spying. It is a reminder. Life has meaning because it is being recorded. The most frightening thing is not the end of the world and not even the certainty of death. The most frightening thing is living an entire life asleep, as if you belong to no order, as if you answer to nothing beyond immediate benefit. A life like that, when it ends, leaves a void that cannot be filled because it never truly connected to a greater meaning. When people realize every moment sits inside an arranged chain, they start asking different questions. Not what do I get, but what did I do with what I was given? Not how long do I live, but how did I live? Those questions do not make life heavier, they give it depth. Even they make small actions matter. They turn patience into strength. They turn gratitude into a way of living. The order of the angels does not exist to erase the role of human beings. It exists to place human beings where they truly belong. Not as absolute rulers, but not as meaningless creatures either. People were created with the ability to choose, with freedom enough to go astray, and with intelligence enough to return. The tension between freedom and responsibility is what gives moral weight to human life. When you see the world through this lens, ordinary things begin to carry a different weight. One more day of life is no longer normal. One more chance to do what is right is no longer random. And every time you delay changing yourself, you are losing a portion of time that was permitted to you. And the four greatest angels are not placed at the center of this story to be admired. They stand like silent markers, reminding you that this world has order, meaning, and an ending. The real story is not about them. It is about how human beings respond once they realize they live inside an order like this. In the end, what remains is not fear, but awareness. An awareness that makes a person live slower, deeper, and with more responsibility toward each moment given. Because once you understand you are seen, not to be condemned instantly but to be judged fully, you no longer want to live shallowly. And it is inside that awareness that life, even short, becomes meaningful. The deepest lesson from this story is not found in gaining more information about angels. It is found in how you live. If every second is permitted, then every second is worth honoring. If every action is recorded, then every choice is worth weighing. And if this life is only one stage inside a greater order, then how you live inside this stage is the answer to whether you have truly understood the meaning of existence. Applying that to your life today does not require you to change the world overnight. It begins with small things. Speaking with more responsibility. Being more honest in the moments no one sees. Being more grateful for blessings you treat as normal. Being more awake to how you spend your time each day. When you treat life as something entrusted to you, not something to waste without thought, life itself becomes deeper and more valuable. If something inside you feels stirred by this story, that is not random. It is a reminder that you still have time to live differently, live deeper, and live with meaning inside the order you belong to. Join the Prophetic History Explained community to explore more powerful knowledge about the prophets, the angels, the end of the world, and the subtle lessons woven into the divine order of creation. And if you want to keep walking with us on this journey, do not forget to subscribe to Prophetic History Explained. Your support is what keeps us going and gives us the strength to create even deeper and more valuable videos in the time ahead.